Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for another episode of Added Time, answering your questions that you kindly submitted for today's video on YouTube and on Twitter. What a big week this is, a very exciting week. Now only 2 days away from the return of the Premier League, and then on Sunday to end the week, Chelsea are going to be back in action. So it's a little bit of a longer wait to see Chelsea back in action, but as I said in yesterday's video, got lots of content coming up on the channel, basically daily videos and sometimes more than one videos in days, especially if there is more recent news to talk about and touch on. I've got some collabs coming up as well, Aston Villa previews, lots of good stuff on the channel. So to make sure you don't miss any of it this week, hit that subscribe button and a notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also, do me a favor by hitting that like button if you're enjoying the content, because it helps out the channel as well. Let's get into your questions that you submitted. So firstly here from Elroy, lots of talk of us signing a new centre back as well. Who would you like to see us sign, considering Christensen or Zuma could be leaving? It's a good question. I think it's very difficult for me to predict a name at the moment, simply because all of the names we're talking about in terms of Chelsea signing, they're mostly attacking options, aren't they? They're the likes of Kai Havertz. And then you look, of course, at Ben Chilwell. Those are the two big names. Gabriel Maglas was the one player I think at one point weeks ago we thought maybe coming to Chelsea and maybe a true target for Chelsea. That really hasn't materialised. Every now and then you hear rumours of Koulibaly, but I think Koulibaly, not only for his age at this point and the price tag, I think maybe that's a ship that sailed a long time ago and Chelsea may be looking elsewhere. I don't think there are any major obvious options, if I'm being honest with you, that really upgrades Chelsea at the current time. I'm talking like an obvious choice that you could actually say there, yeah, that's one player and actually realistically we can get this summer. I've always had the suspicion that Frank Lampard and Chelsea are looking to improve left back. They're looking to improve maybe a goalkeeper as well this summer in a backup option. Of course, obviously in wider areas like they have with Timo Werner and with Hakim Ziyech, and of course striker, which of course Timo Werner can play as well. So we really don't know. I mean, I've heard more midfielders coming to Chelsea than I have centre-backs, so it's very hard for me to guess, and I assume, especially with Ethan Ampadu coming back, Chelsea may miss out on signing a centre-back this summer, in my opinion. TDM asks, do you think we will get top four? If yes, do you think we will catch Leicester after the 7-1 versus Queen's Park Rangers and players back from injury? So yes, Chelsea did play another, I believe it's probably going to be Chelsea's last warm-up friendly before the Premier League restarts against QPR at Stamford Bridge. We're still yet to see the actual footage of the game, which hopefully will be released soon, so keep an eye out for that. But we do know that Chelsea absolutely demolished Queen's Park Rangers. Ruben Loftus-Cheek once again scoring a brace, and also Billy Gilmour scoring as well. Some great pictures which I'll put up on the screen now of that game, and it's very exciting. I do think Chelsea can get top four. I do think we will. I think that as difficult as it is going to be to try and maintain that momentum and positive energy we had before the lockdown, it's basically a new season, isn't it? But if Chelsea can capture some of that energy and revitalise some of that for these remaining games, I think we can do really well. It's about consistency for me. It's about consistency of not only of results but performances. That was something that we really struggled with until those Liverpool and Everton games. If Frank Lampard can capture some of that, and I think having a fully fit squad for me is going to be absolutely essential. As you mentioned, the players back from injury, N'Golo Kante can still be massive for Chelsea at his best. Christian Pulisic, one of Chelsea's best performing players this season, if he can, recapture some of his form, I think he's going to be essential to Chelsea. I truly do, especially in that front three. Tammy Abraham as well, I think will be revitalised. I think there's so many players within there who maybe have had, staggered spells this season because of injury. I think Chelsea can be looking really strong going into these final games. Manhandled CFC asks, should Loftus-Cheek start against Villa? Obviously mentioning Ruben Loftus-Cheek in that game against QPR. He's been playing a lot. I mean, that's really obvious from the pictures we're getting. Frank Lampard is playing him a lot in these games. It looks like he's getting back to good fitness. Whether he will start on Sunday, it would be a massive statement for me if I saw Ruben Loftus-Cheek in that starting 11. As you say, you are dealing with unique circumstances here in terms of the gap, but I still believe he will be on the bench. I think that Chelsea have been really cautious about Loftus-Cheek and his injury and his fitness, and I think that will continue, and that would be my preference. I think the 5 sub rule, I think, is there to be used for players like Loftus-Cheek. Just easing him back into competition, I think, is good. If he does start, and if he's ready to start, and if the medical staff believe and Lampard believes he's ready, then brilliant. I think he can be a brilliant player for Chelsea for these remaining games. But I still would assume, without hearing, of course, Lampard speak before the game, that Ruben will likely be on the bench for that, in my opinion. Jerry asked, to get Billy Gilmour and Loftus-Cheek more playing time next season and to raise cash for more purchases, would you rather see Jorginho or Kante be sold? I've got a video about Jorginho coming out later today about that sort of whole situation with Juventus. Kante, to me, when I listened to Frank Lampard speak, when he was speaking recently, I believe on BT Sport a few weeks back, about Kante and his fitness, I still think Kante can have a major role under Frank Lampard. He's really Chelsea's only world-class player, and I think to lose him would be really detrimental to the first team squad. And I think maybe we've underestimated, because of his injury, because he actually hasn't featured a lot this season, how key he can still be for Chelsea. I think probably Jorginho. I'm a big fan of Jorginho, as people who watch this channel regularly know, but I just feel the longevity maybe of Jorginho, and as you mentioned, Billy Gilmour. I mean, Billy Gilmour for me very much looks like the future of Chelsea's midfield in terms of the base of midfield. And you're looking at that Jorginho sort of reduced a metronome role. Billy Gilmour could very much fill that role. Whether that's going to happen this summer, I'm not entirely sure. I'm quite doubtful. Kai Havertz, if Kai Havertz was to come in, I think Chelsea will sell at least one midfielder. But that may not be either Jorginho or N'Golo Kante. It may be Ross Barkley, but I'm going to go with Jorginho on this one. SOS asks, who do you think will be Chelsea's best player in the last few games? Difficult question. I'm probably going to make a video on this as well, sort of going into, for me, who are the most important players or players who can really do something in these remaining games. I'm going to go with Christian Pulisic. I think because Loftus-Cheek has spent so long on the sidelines, it's very hard to know how he's going to cope with the intensity of Premier League football. And I think it's just fair on him to not heap too much pressure on these opening few games when he's getting back to fitness. We know what Tammy Abraham can do. I think the fact that Pulisic for me had such an amazing impact in the short time he has. I mean, when you look at his stats, I think they're so impressive for what he's actually done this season. Sometimes not even being a first team regular when he's been fit under Frank Lampard, he's had to earn the confidence of Frank Lampard, and when he got that confidence, that spell of games, Burnley, I think even before then, Newcastle, Ajax, Burnley, Crystal Palace, Watford, he was brilliant in those games. Pulisic proved his anticipation for goals are brilliant, and if he can do that, he can score some major ones in the remaining games for Chelsea, so I'm going to go with Christian Pulisic. Mark Worrell asks, he's a brilliant Chelsea author, definitely go and read his work. Have you ever seen Tottenham win the league? I haven't ever seen Tottenham win the league, and hopefully that remains to be for the rest of my life supporting Chelsea. And so I haven't. So I don't think I'll be seeing it anytime soon, in my opinion. And lastly here from Tyrese, considering the players we have and the ones we are rumoured to bring in, what two formations do you expect us to use mostly throughout next season? Interesting question. I did a video on Chelsea's best formation weeks ago. I believe it was just before lockdown on the channel. So definitely go and check out that video, because I go in depth on the stats, on the performances, on my personal preference. I think 4-3-3 will be the main formation, and 4-2-3-1 can sort of blend into that quite naturally, but I think 4-3-3 for me will be one of the formations. And I think Frank Lampard will still want to use a three at the back system at some point, as we've seen, because it's been successful for him at points, and I think he likes using that wing back system, especially even if Ben Chilwell comes in. I think having Marcos Alonso potentially as a backup, I think could work really well for Chelsea in certain situations, especially if he wants to, have those inverted wingers, which we know that Timo Werner could work very well with Tammy Abraham in that type of system. So I think those would be the two. I think Frank constantly talks about flexibility and adaptability in games, so I don't think we should expect that he's just going to be like Sarri and he's going to pin down one formation and that's going to be it. I think he is a manager that wants to change every now and then. So those are the two I'd go for, because I think it does add that versatility, be a bit more rigid, be a bit more structured and safe in those areas, because we have struggled this season defensively. So that is it for this episode of Added Time. Thank you guys once again for submitting your questions. Great to answer them. And once again, next week on a Monday, answering your questions. So submit them once again. For then, I'll probably put a post up on my YouTube community page on the Sunday, and also on my Twitter account at Son of Chelsea. So go and follow there. But thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and a notification bell so you never miss an upload. Have a great day, and I'll see you again.